Okay guys, welcome back to the Northeast Updates channel. So this is part 2 of the 2-part video series. The first part we looked at the current Newcastle United squad. We looked at who would keep, loan and sell. We're going to play Eddie Howe's role a little bit today. We're going to look at who would fill in them gaps to make up the rest of Newcastle United's 25-man squad. So we're going to look through what we did on the last video. If you haven't seen that already, we'll pop the link below. You can check that one out. Let us know your thoughts. Obviously, football is an opinionated game, so let us know what you would do differently. So, firstly, it's been reported, depends on which report you read, it's £150 million is expected Newcastle United transfer budget. Now, obviously Newcastle United, a lot of the games are featured on Sky, on BT, a lot more than most of the other teams this season, so there's a lot more of an income generation from that. There's also Champions League money, which we all know is very, very lucrative. That's also helped Eddie Howe shape what should be a crucial transfer window this window. But there will be money to be gained from outgoing players. So we're going to look firstly at the outgoing players. If we use £150 million as the expected budget for this transfer window, we'll look through, and again, let us know your thoughts in the comments below if these figures you think are accurate or if they're going to differ. So firstly, we had Darlow as a sell. Now, we're not anticipating too much of a transfer fee for that. Been a fantastic servant like we covered in the last video. So he'll pretty much be on a free, not really picking up much of a fee. However, on the right back situation, there were two players that we look back on who should be moved on. So we've got Manquillo. Now, Manquillo's level is probably lower Premier League high championship. Could still probably cut it in the Premier League. But I would say in terms of a fee, that's probably around 5 million. If we get a little bit more, fantastic. If we've got good negotiation skills, which we obviously do because we got rid of Chris Wood and Shelby as well. We've got next up is Kraft. Now, he fails to deceive a little bit. He came in, not a lot of fanfare, done very well. I think probably I'm being on the more conservative side here and saying 5 million again. So that's 10 million potentially from the right backs that we've got to add to the £150 million budget that we've got. Next up, the sells. With that, he's a Nottingham Forest local. He'd probably be well suited going back to there. We could probably still get 10 million for him. He's probably not going to see his days in Newcastle, so 10 million I've got down for that. Target is up next. Obviously very unfortunate joining us, second fiddle. I've said 10 million. He joined us for around 15. If we make 5 million loss on that and get 10, I'm sure there'll be a line of Premier League clubs, especially those who are looking for left back, who would be interested. Probably Wolves, Everton, a few others. Jamal Lewis up next. Got him as 5 million. We haven't seen enough really, if I'm being completely honest, of him this season or seasons gone by in a Newcastle shirt to really estimate his value. In terms of value, it's all about what the buying club decides anyway as well, and where you can meet in the middle. 5 million, I'm sure the club will be happy to get 5 million from that. Signed for about 13, it's going to be a massive loss, but some work out, some don't. He's obviously one of them that's going to be infamous for not making the grade. Then we've got Fraser. Now, I don't know who would touch him with a barge pole at the moment. He's not really a great footballer, employee, if you want to say it like that. I'm sure the club will just be happy to write that off, get him out the door. Would he go to a championship club? Probably. There'll be some clubs desperate. He obviously does possess a little bit of quality, even though his attitude this season has been terrible, as it has been done in the past. Now, probably controversially, I put Almiron down as a sell. Just to caveat that, I do mention it when we're speaking to Rubenstein in the video with him. I've put that down because I think his stock is at the highest. And when you put yourself in the role of a football manager, it's kind of like the stock market. You've got to try to buy cheap, sell high. That's the best way to do it. I think Almiron, his value is probably the highest now. He's had a fantastic season, so it's probably peak. If we did sell him, I've got down here around 30 to 35 million. I'll say 30 to be on the conservative side. And then St. Maximin, when we did the video last time, that was the one that really was sitting on the fence with. If we got an offer for £50 million I've put down here, that would sell it. So that's a £65 million outgoing budget. If all of the players there go with St. Maximin, if we get 50 million, it depends on who's willing to pay that or if he stays or not. If we include St. Maximin, that's 115 million. So that's two things to think about while watching this video. That's where the extra money is going to come from. So in terms of who we're going to fetch in, again, opinions here, let us know your thoughts. So starting from the back to front. So keeper situation sorted, we've got our 3 keepers in. Centre back. Now, we haven't really been linked with any centre-backs, in truth. We've been linked with left-backs, wingers, strikers, no centre-backs. I put Gahey from Crystal Palace. I think he's one of these people who, I think if you're joining Newcastle at the moment, you've got Shaw, you've got Botman, you're probably not going to get in number 1, but there's going to be a lot of game times. So you want someone a little bit younger who's okay maybe to go with that role as a rotation. Gahey, I've put him down, probably valued at 25 million. I reckon we could pick that up for. Again, this is almost Football Manager-esque doing this, but 25 million I think is probably a fair fee. Will that be enough? With Dummett and Dan Burn being able to do that, I think that would probably leave us okay for centre-back. However, left-back. On the last video, I've only got one official left-back, even though Dummett can't play there, is Dan Burns at left-back. I've got 2 options for this one. So the 2 options that I've come up with is obviously Tierney. He's linked with us. Everyone kind of fancies him. He's an easy option. Plus he has that attacking option that maybe Dan Burn lacks a little bit. The reported fee, now it depends again where you read, is around 30 to 35 million. That's going to take up a little bit of the budget, but left back is probably one of the most crucial positions that we need this window. The other person who I've got down here is Tyreek Mitchell. Again, raiding Crystal Palace. Been very impressed with them this season. They've got Eze and loads of other different exciting players. Mitchell's very young. The only reason why I went for Tierney over him is because of that attacking output. So with Mitchell, very good, solid at defensive. Maybe doesn't offer the same attacking. So if we want an alternative for Dan Burns, if we want someone who's going to attack teams, maybe when we're playing weaker teams, Mitchell's not exactly going to be offering something different to Dan Burns. So I would go for Tierney. Again, let us know your thoughts. Could have this all wrong. Could differ from your opinion. Just let me know. Midfield now. So this is probably one of the difficult decisions here. We need a few in. I think Sean Longstaff, Willock have been fantastic. I think they're going to have to be okay with rotating because there's going to be a ton of matches this season. Now, I've got down here Mount. 50 million, I reckon. Obviously, loads of the top clubs are sniffing around, Man U and some others. I think if we manage to get him, I think he's had a bit of an off season this season, kind of like everyone in a Chelsea shirt this season. But the potential that he's got, the quality that he's got is fantastic. I'd imagine with Eddie Howe, he would turn him into an absolute world beater again. And then maybe next season, halfway through the season, people will be looking at this as one of the best transfers of the transfer window. Mason Mount, 50 million. The next one I've got is Maddison. So with this one, it depends on if we sell St. Maximin. This is the basis that I'm using for this. So with St. Maximin goes, I've said around 50 million. I think Maddison's probably going to be equal. I think Maddison's going to be a lot more of an Eddie Howe player. He's obviously got that versatility. He can play on the wing. He can play centrally. He'll probably be fighting it out with Trippier for set plays, but he's got that quality. He's got a crazy free kick in him. So I would say if we did sell St. Maximin, yes. If we didn't, we would probably struggle to be able to pull that off. One of the ones that I missed out as well was right back. So with right back, this number 2 slot is not going to get in ahead of Kieran Trippier. So it's going to have to be someone who is maybe not a superstar and is going to settle for a position on the bench. Now, I had a couple down here. The first one that I had down with is more than an ideal signing. Is Pavard. He plays in Germany, fantastic right back, but he's not going to leave there. If we could coax him with the Champions League football and everything that we've got, that obviously they have as well, but the passion, everything, exciting club to join, fantastic. If not, I've got us a maybe sort of signing as Matty Cash. Now, again, someone who's had a little bit of a step back this season. He's not been up to his standards the season before, but a fantastic attacking player, solid defensively as well. Would he leave Aston Villa for Champions League football? Probably depends on what they're going to assurances they're going to give him going into next season. If we could get him, I'd say about 25 million, maybe 30 million pound valuation. But what I've thought here is maybe save some of the cash for right back, seeing as it's not really a priority due to Trippier. And I put Walker Peters. So every time I've watched Southampton, they've obviously been dire, but he's been one of the bright sparks. He's always consistent and always about a 7 out of 10. They always used to say that with James Milner. I think he's probably the same sort of player. So he's very solid defensively. I reckon because he's been relegated, there's a bargain to be had there, and I would say £10 million. Now, wingers. Now, because I put Almiron as a possible sell, I put him basically down as a sell because I thought this is an area that we can improve on. I think he had a massive purple patch, in fairness to him. I love him. I think he's great. He obviously grafts every single minute. It's something you want from all of your players. But if we can replace him with Thuram, who can also play as a striker, plays a winger, friends with St. Maximin, French international, he's on a free. He's obviously going to command huge wages because he is on a free. But if we can replace that, save a little bit of money as well, that's only going to be beneficial, I think. Almiron, I think he's, like I say, he's peaked this season. Hard, very tough. I'm going down the whole ruthless angle because Newcastle have to be a little bit this transfer window. Then that leaves on a striker. Now, what we need for a striker is we've got two recognised strikers. Isak is being inched a little bit towards playing as a winger. We've got Callum Wilson and Isak as two concrete strikers. We've then also got Krul. He's not been great this season. He's far too young for him. He needs to be loaned out. We covered that in the last video. Check that out as well. So with two strikers, Callum Wilson, we know from listening to the podcast, he's not happy being on the bench. This is probably why he might have outfought Isak for that central striker position. If we've got them two, we need someone who's going to be happy rotating. So it's going to probably have to be a younger player rather than a superstar. Now, this is probably going to be one that everyone's got their own opinions about in particular because strikers are so crucial. For me, one of the ones I've been very impressed with for a youngster, two options here, but the one that I've went for ultimately is Ferguson at Brighton. I think 30 million, solid investment. That valuation is only going to go and get higher and higher throughout the season. One for the future as well. Callum Wilson's the wrong side of 30 in terms of for football. So literally fetching him in to be the understudy, maybe learn a little bit from him, and he'll just be a natural kind of fit to take over when Callum Wilson does ultimately end. Plus, we know Callum Wilson, he's unfortunate with injuries, so he will definitely get game time. And you want someone maybe who is probably a little bit younger, but someone who's going to come in and also hit the ground running, not someone who's going to struggle too much. We've seen Ferguson in the Premier League. He's been fantastic, only 19. Irish international now, absolutely fantastic. The option that I had, alternative to him, is Johnson. He plays for Nottingham Forest. We interview fans, away fans, almost every single home game of the season. One of the first games of the season that we had was Nottingham Forest, and when they had all of these little superstars that they had at the time, Jesse Lingard, not so much this season, and a lot of others, a lot of the actual football fans, if you ask people outside, including Newcastle fans, we would have probably said Lingard or Henderson was a great signing. Every single one of them said Johnson, their winger / striker, is a fantastic player. He's done fantastic this season. I would imagine, as ambitious as Nottingham Forest have proven to be this last season, I would imagine if a Champions League club comes knocking, we've got that attraction now where we can be one of the big boys knocking. I'm sure Nottingham Forest wouldn't stand in his way, and for a fee very similar to what I said for Ferguson, around 30 million, would be absolutely fantastic as well. But I think Ferguson offers more support and striker, where Johnson has a little bit of winger in him and striker, that versatility. One of the other options as well is because we would probably need some cover just to take it up to the 25-man squad. We don't really want to be using too much of the budget. We need players to gel. We need people who are going to hit the Premier League ground running with experience. Is I've put Tielemans. Now, this one's probably a little bit of a controversial one because there's always going to be fans out there who will say he can't be that good because he's got relegated. We've seen a season before, 2 seasons ago. He's absolutely fantastic. He's been linked with top clubs. He has died off quite a little bit this season. He's probably down tools, which is not really what you want to see. It's a buying football club. But for a free and making the numbers up, especially if there's injuries, if we're going to have an extra player in the squad for that 25-man squad, midfield is probably crucial to do it, especially with the versatility that we've got with the defenders that we've got. I would go for Tielemans, pick him up on a free. I don't think this season he can really charge as much in terms of a wage as much as he could have done a season ago, 2 seasons ago. So he's probably one of the bargain-esque kind of players as well. If there's any difference that you guys think, obviously everyone's got their own opinion, like I've said, let us know in your comments below. We'll be doing lots of these different transfer videos, with it being the off season, so much excitement around Newcastle, this transfer window, probably more than almost anyone before it, money going into it, Champions League appeal, everything else. So let us know your thoughts. If you do follow the channel, fantastic. There's a lot of people out there who watch the videos and do not hit the follow or the subscribe button. It is hugely important to us. So if you don't mind, if you want to do that, that would be fantastic. Thank you very much for your support throughout the year, everyone. We'll be trying to do a lot more of these videos throughout the year, so lots more to come. Don't forget to hit all of the buttons below, and see you next time.